going to either be getting a FICO score or a Vantage score. Now, about 90% of lenders use the FICO score model. So that means only about 10% use Vantage score, but Vantage score is catching on in popularity. Both scores range between 300 and 850. And then there's 5 factors that make up the overall score for the FICO score, as you see on your screen. And that's what we're going to focus on because that's 90% of the scores out there. Now, Vantage score is going to have similar methods of calculating your score, but it's a little different than the FICO score model. But the 5 factors that make up the overall FICO score are payment history, amounts owed, length of credit history, the credit mix, and new credit. I'm going to ask you to make a note of the first 3, the first 2 really, but the first 3, payment history, amounts owed, and then you can throw in length of credit history too. The reason I'm going to ask you to make a note of that is because even experienced lenders will get all out of whack on what is most important in a credit score in terms of what's creating the score, what's driving it, right? 65% of the score is simply payment history. Do you make your payments on time or do you have late payments, right? So just paying on time, that's 35% of the score. The other 30% that makes up the first 65% of your score is the amounts owed. Now that's 2 different things. Amounts owed in terms of if you have revolving credit like a credit card. Let's say you have a $5,000 credit limit available to you. Well, if you have a $5,000 balance, that is called 100% utilization. You've maxed out that account. If you have a 0 balance, that's called a zero can't say that fast. Utilization ratio. I know, Gail, you're probably laughing at me there. That's a mouthful. Try that. Everybody say utilization 5 times fast. You know, that is very important. And so owing less on revolving accounts is always better than owing more. But the part that's missed sometimes in that amounts owed category is just how much you owe, right? So the more debt you have, almost always, the lower the score. Not just utilization on revolving accounts, but overall debt amount. And then length of credit history is 15%. So if you put those first 3 together, if you've written that down like I'm asking you to, then you will see that 80% of someone's score is just those 3 things. Length of credit history means how old is your oldest trade line, right? And if you have more than one, the older they are, the better. That's why even when you have a 0 balance on a credit card or revolving line of credit that you're not using anymore or don't use very often, it's still a good idea to leave it open because it does help you with that length of credit history. Now, you still need to use it every once in a while to keep it active. Some places will actually close it out if you don't use it for a long period of time, but just leaving some of those older trade lines open isn't a bad thing in terms of length of credit history. But what you hear the most about a lot of times from financial experts out there trying to help people increase their score is a whole lot of conversation about the perfect mix of credit, right? Well, you got to have so many credit cards and then, you know, installment loans and mortgage and that. Yeah. Well, yes, it has an impact, but how much? 10%. I mean, you know, it's kind of like the tail wagging the dog, right? We need to focus on what's most important if we're really trying to help folks have the best credit scores out there. And then new credit, you hear so much about inquiries. People freak out over inquiries. Well, that falls under new credit, and it's only a very small part of the 10% that is in the new credit area. So again, does it have an impact? Yes, but not near as much.
Pinnacle Bank is a member FDIC and an equal housing lender. Neither Pinnacle Bank or its affiliates are a registered broker-dealer. Securities and/or insurance products are not deposits, not insured by the FDIC or any other government agency, nor are they guaranteed by Pinnacle Bank. They are subject to risk and may lose value. Registration does not imply a certain level of skill or training. The purpose of this series is to provide helpful information on the subject matter covered. It is offered with the understanding that Pinnacle Bank is not rendering legal or accounting advice. Since the details of your situation may be fact-dependent, you should additionally seek the services of a competent professional regarding your personal situation.